Welcome to my packing Darkroom video. Today we'll pack everything, dispose some chemicals and disassemble all the stuff and put them in the boxes to transportation to my new Darkroom place. Probably some of you still hear from the first videos what I make on the channel, so as you can say, it's almost the 1 year when I start exploring color printing and array for printing. Since day one, I want to do everything useful, and today, in this day when it's plus 35, I need to pack everything back and basically think if I need all of this stuff and if all of my decisions was good. Starting with this processor, I can say I'm pretty happy how it's turned out, especially for film development. I don't really can say it's amazing for paper development, but if you have a small darkroom and you want something universal, this is a really great choice. Especially if you check the videos with the upgrades for this particular CPU too, I think it's quite amazing what you get for the used price, and I don't really think the modern new price for this tool actually cut the costs. But because I bought it, I think for 400 euros or something like this, and make a modification around like 50 euros or something around this price, I'm pretty happy with what I get. I have exactly the same set of the drums for this system, so I can develop up to 5 120 film or up to 5 35mm film at the same time. And I can develop color or black and white, and it doesn't really matter for this rotation system. Also in the same drum, I can develop paper with a size up to 20 by 25, and this is my maximum size of the paper, what I work with. And because I not throw away anything, I still have these cute boxes from all of the spirals and all of the accessories. And this box is actually quite nice. I really like the material and the paper for these boxes. I don't know from which material it's made. It's kind of a paper, but from the inside it's kind of a soft paper. Because the box itself looks cool, I will probably use it for storage in some of the stuff in the new Darkroom. I still need to make a huge amount of decisions about the new Darkroom and what I want to put there and how much space I have, which is completely uncertain at the moment. And because from day one I actually built the system what I really like, and I really like the two system with the wet and the dry kind of a part of the Darkroom. In my small bathroom I only missing probably the table to basically review the prints and sign something or align something or just put some stuff aside when I print. So for now I carefully will put everything back in the boxes, and I will use probably everything what I have, because I don't really buy anything what I don't really use. And I think in my darkroom all the things have a purpose, and I don't really have the old stuff what I don't really like or don't use at all. It's actually quite funny because you package everything yourself and put it back in the bigger boxes for convenience. For some reason everything actually multiply in size, and probably my old darkroom will be like 5 or 6 boxes with the old stuff. And because I have everything starting from the development of the film with the different drums and development system, I also have a scanning system, and I also have a full printing darkroom for color and black and white. And you can compare the modern digital way. So for example, this is a scanner and it's quite compact and light, and you can do most of the things with just a scanner and compact size. Because I have an old C41 chemistry, I need to discard it and put the old bottles back in the storage. And I already have on my hands probably 6 or 7 films which is exposed and stored in my fridge. And I think it will be one of the first important tasks in my new darkroom to set up the process and start developing the film. For me it's quite funny because for the past year I think everybody complaining about the prices of the film and how expensive to shoot film. I kind of don't feel it first of all, because I just bought in bulk the cheap film which I really like. This is Kodak 200 Gold. And I buy it in the local German supermarket DM, and if you can find the stock there, just buy everything. Just buy like everything what you see on a shelf, because price for this film in the supermarket around 8 to 9 euros per free pack of film. I think it's quite impossible to beat this price, and I'm still shooting, and I think I have like 3 more rolls of this COVID film, what I call it. This is basically the film with the Kodak with the silver caps. My wet chemical station is quite easy to disassemble, and as you remember probably from the video when I bought it and assembled it, it's not a lot of parts. And it's quite easy to put in all boxes, and I think the most biggest part in my darkroom is Enlarger, and just because it has a wooden block and the really huge and heavy stand for the head itself. I think the older stuff you just buy it once, and this is why nobody care about the size, and sometimes Enlarger's just huge and bulky and nobody move them ever from the darkroom. In the modern world, you can definitely make the same type of printing station, but twice lighter, twice smaller, and in the same time provide better results, especially if you're using LED light. And I'm still thinking about the modification of my photo head to make it LED, but unfortunately only one brand which is making ready to use LED lights for the Dart Enlarger. And I think the cost for this replacement of the head is quite ridiculous. It's more than 1,000 euros per just LED lights. And additionally you need to buy the control unit, so it's quite an investment in a darkroom. As a part of the dry darkroom, I have all of my easels, so I need to all pack them up, and also I need to pack my color analyzer, timers, Enlarger transformer, and pack all the rest small stuff which you need to print in a darkroom. Some of the stuff have original box, and for some of the stuff I actually even have a historical original boxes, which I also like because they give a little bit of vibe of old stock stuff. And especially for this type of equipment, it's quite nice because you can store it on a shelf if you don't really use it often. And it doesn't really create a lot of mess on your shelf because it's a kind of an old stock box. And as you can understand, I still have a box from my color analyzer, so for transportation I will just put it back, and because it's already pre-cutted for this device, I don't really need to wrap it up, I just need it back in this compartment when it's actually fitted perfectly. So sometimes for some tools it's actually quite handy to have the original package because it's much safer to store it or transport it, especially for the tools which is irreplaceable or it's crazy hard to find in future. And a lot of people actually ask about this test printer, what I'm using in my darkroom, and it's quite easy to reproduce, and I think I will do something about it in future because it's not easy to find anymore, but in the same time it's quite simple and quite cool thing. Just in case, I will put all of my paper in a dark bag. Unfortunately, I store everything in room conditions, and as you can understand, it's not really good idea to store paper in the room conditions when it's room plus 35 degrees of Celsius. Probably it's a good thing to buy a small fridge for the chemicals and small fridge for the paper and the film. I think if you have a space, it's quite a good idea to buy the fridge for the film and the paper and some chemicals. Because if you can buy anything with a quite big amount, especially with the color paper, you will save probably twice the amount of money in the long run. So for example, the film, probably it will never get cheaper. So if you can afford it now to buy 20, 50 rolls of film, which you always should, just do it and forget about it. Probably it will be a really good investment in the next years. And as the last steps, let's disassemble my safe light, remove all of the electrical connections from my dry station, and also remove the connections from the photo head, and remove the connections from the transformer, and pack everything carefully. And I will for sure save all my journals, and probably I will use some information from it in future. And for some of the stuff, it's quite important to pack them really well. For example, this transformer, I think it's not really easy to replace. You can buy the new one, but the price of the same thing will be probably quite horrific, and you can spend additional 100 to 200 euros for such a small thing. For sure, some of the parts of my darkroom require some modifications, and I will probably do it in future when I understand how much space I have and how I want to film inside the darkroom, because I have completely different ideas at the moment. And this is not really typical darkroom, as you can understand, because I shoot mostly everything what I print in my darkroom and what I develop in my darkroom. So as you can understand, it's quite different requirements for the tooling and for setup of the darkroom if you just want to print in it. From one side, I don't really like this old stuff, especially Enlarger, because it's quite heavy, quite big, but in the same time, I, for example, can say this stand for Enlarger, it's quite beefy thing, and you can abuse it a little bit, and probably it will survive for a lifetime. And it's already kind of a lifetime for some of the people, because this Enlarger is quite old stock. For Enlarger head, I will try to pack it carefully, but don't really have original package. It was shipped to me in some huge package and wrapped multiple times in paper and bubble wrap, so I will use additional box and just try to keep everything quite small and at the same time quite safe for Enlarger head. And at the same time, I will put in a box some small stuff, safe lights, to be close to the larger head, to not lose anything, especially like small screws or small set of things. I still think my setup is quite optimal. For example, my Enlarger, I really like, you can move it back and forward, and it will be quite handy if you want to print something. And unfortunately, I don't really have a development drum at the moment, but probably in future, if I want to do something crazy, I can do it and print something huge on the wall, and it will be quite easy to actually move the Enlarger back and forward and make a focus and do some crazy stuff with it. I don't really understand why you need this table to set up table on a table. Probably it's a good idea if you want to make alignments and go a little bit on the precise side, but I think for this size of prints what I actually producing, it's not really important, and you will not see huge deviation in the focus and the tilting of the lens. Probably the manufacturing of the Enlarger itself, it's not so precise as you wish. So the biggest portion is actually the stand for Enlarger and the wooden desk for the Enlarger. So I will try to put it in a huge box which is come from the supplier of the Enlarger, and just put some packaging material on top and some small stuff. I try to keep each box not crazy heavy, because if it's heavy, usually it's getting tossed a lot inside the track, and probably you can break some of the stuff just with the inertia, and if it will slide around inside the box. I think only one downside of the solution with the roller base what I have, it's not crazy pretty, but at the same time it's quite cheap. I think I bought it on Amazon around 20 euros for each set of these roller cards. And as you saw in my videos, it's quite functional, especially if I need to bring it in my small bathroom and bring it out each time when I want to print. And at the same time, I have the same exact setup, so it's basically table on the rollers, and I don't need to really disassemble anything at all. And in the same box, when I have all of my paper, I will also put my negatives, and I also will put there all of my prints. And for sure, I definitely need to store my prints better. So thank you for watching. I hope I see you soon in a new darkroom, and it will be quite funny if it will be like one of the first thing which I unpack in my new apartment.